A silent laboratory lies deep beneath the Iranian desert plain. Rows of centrifuges spin continuously, each rotation quietly refining uranium, gradually pushing a nation toward a pivotal moment in global history. Iran's nuclear program is far more than a technical undertaking or national ambition. It is a geopolitical fulcrum, one capable of reshaping the balance of power in the Middle East and potentially triggering a much wider conflict. This story begins decades ago, in the 1950s, when Iran was still ruled by the Shah and closely aligned with the West. Through the US-led Atoms for Peace program, Iran received its first nuclear reactor, scientific assistance, and fuel oil under the premise of peaceful energy development. But the 1979 Islamic revolution overthrew that pro-Western government, replacing it with a regime deeply skeptical of outside influence. Suspicion replaced transparency. Since then, Iran has insisted its nuclear program is strictly civilian. But mounting evidence told a different story. Hidden enrichment sites in Natanz, Fordow, and Arak. Satellite photos showing construction of underground facilities. Uranium particles found where they shouldn't be. And repeated obstruction of international inspectors. The world began to fear what Tehran might be concealing. In 2015, after years of rising tensions, world powers and Iran signed the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA. Under the agreement, Iran would sharply curtail enrichment activities, reduce its uranium stockpile, limit centrifuge use, and allow constant surveillance by the International Atomic Energy Agency. In return, punishing economic sanctions were lifted. The deal wasn't perfect, but it bought time. Then came 2018. The Trump administration unilaterally withdrew from the JCPOA, calling it deeply flawed. That decision shattered trust and reignited Iran's nuclear efforts. By 2025, Tehran had stockpiled approximately 9 tons of 60% enriched uranium, dangerously close to the 90% level needed for a bomb, though still officially not weaponizing the material. The so-called breakout time, how quickly Iran could produce a nuclear weapon if it chose to, was measured in weeks, not months. However, nuclear material alone does not make a bomb. Developing a reliable weapon also requires warhead design, miniaturization, testing, and delivery systems, tasks that take time and technical capability. Western intelligence assessments suggest Iran has not resumed a full-fledged weapons program since halting it in the early 2000s, but with sufficient material and growing expertise. Iran now possesses everything it needs to make that final leap if it makes the political decision to do so. Then, in June 2025, a line was crossed. Israel launched a surprise operation, reportedly dubbed Rising Lion. A series of surgical airstrikes and drone attacks hit Iranian nuclear sites at Natanz, Fordow, and military targets tied to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Key centrifuges were destroyed. Missile launch facilities were disabled, and several high-ranking nuclear scientists and IRGC officers were killed. The message was clear: Israel would not allow Iran to become a nuclear-armed state. Yet not even Israel's advanced military is capable of destroying Iran, as most fortified facilities without US-supplied bunker-busting munitions. Fordow, buried under a mountain, remains operational. So far, Washington has not publicly joined the strikes, but intelligence sharing and logistical support are widely assumed. Iran's retaliation came swiftly. Waves of missiles and drones were launched toward Israel, some intercepted, others landing in civilian areas and near U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria. At least one Israeli hospital was damaged. Iran's allies Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen fired rockets and drones into Israeli and Gulf territory, while Tehran announced it was withdrawing completely from the JCPOA framework and had opened a new, undisclosed enrichment facility. For the first time in decades, Iran declared full non-cooperation with the IAEA. The world watched nervously as events spiraled. U.S. military bases across the Gulf went on high alert. Warships repositioned in the Persian Gulf. European and Asian leaders urged restraint. But at the United Nations, the Security Council was paralyzed. Russia and China refused to condemn Iran, while Western powers demanded tougher inspections and renewed sanctions. The standoff deepened. The danger now isn't just nuclear, it's regional escalation. Iran's network of proxy militias, including Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Shiite militias in Iraq, could spark simultaneous conflicts on multiple fronts. Oil shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz could be blocked. Saudi Arabia and the UAE might be forced into direct confrontation. And if US personnel are harmed, Washington could be drawn in, willingly or not. In the worst-case scenario, what began as an Israeli-Iranian standoff could spiral into a multi-state war, one that risks drawing in major powers on opposing sides. At the heart of this crisis lies a paradox. Israel believes preemptive strikes are the only way to prevent a nuclear Iran. But critics warn that military action might actually accelerate Iran's pursuit of a bomb, forcing it to go underground, both figuratively and literally. Already, Iran has announced plans to enrich at higher levels and construct more hidden facilities. Meanwhile, calls for diplomacy continue, with back-channel talks in Oman, mediation attempts by the EU, and suggestions of a new regional security pact. But after so many cycles of mistrust, broken agreements, and covert sabotage, no side seems willing to make the first move. Even the IAEA has been sidelined, unable to conduct reliable inspections since the latest strikes. The coming weeks are critical. Iran could choose restraint, biding its time while strengthening its program. Or it could rush to weaponize and announce itself as a nuclear power. Israel, in turn, could double down and expand its military operations. The US might be forced to choose: stay on the sidelines or intervene and risk a broader war. This is not just a conflict about enrichment levels or centrifuge types. It is a confrontation shaped by decades of mistrust, regional rivalries, religious tensions, and strategic red lines. It's about national pride, survival, deterrence, and the fear of waking up to a nuclear flash over the desert. We are closer now than ever to a point of no return. One miscalculation, one false alarm, or one provocation too far could ignite a chain reaction that no one can stop. So the question remains: can diplomacy pull us back from the edge? Or are we witnessing the early sparks of a much larger fire? Let us know in the comments. Do you think Iran will build a nuclear bomb? Can Israel or the US stop it in time? Or have events already passed the point of no return? If you found this video insightful, give it a like, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to History Nest, where we uncover the moments shaping tomorrow as headlines. The story isn't finished. In fact, it may just be beginning.